Well, it's time now for our football action. The goals from Switzerland's valuable win over Romania coming up later, but we start at Portman Road, where Ipswich, already out of Europe but favourites for the First Division Championship, take on Wolverhampton Wanderers, whose start to the season has so far been far from glorious. Commentator John Motson.
The life and times of Andy Gray are turbulent indeed. He's lost his tag as Britain's most expensive footballer. He's regained his place in the Scotland World Cup squad. He was sent off against his old club Aston Villa on Wednesday, and he's still the subject of transfer talk which has kept Wolves in the headlines all this week. Today, John Barnwell makes two changes. At number 8, Wayne Clark comes in for Alan Birch, who has an ankle injury, and at number 10, Norman Bell replaces John Richards, who's been out of form. So, having dropped Peter Daniel and George Berry earlier this week, the Wolves manager is shuffling the pack at a time when his own future has been open to speculation. Ipswich make a change after winning at Leeds in the League Cup. Mick Mills switches to right back to replace Kevin Steggles, and that brings in an extra attacker in Kevin O'Callaghan, the Republic of Ireland international, who is one of 4 Ipswich players scheduled for World Cup duty next week. The others are all in midfield: Tyson and Muren of Holland, Walk of Scotland. Referee Tony Ward comes from New Southgate in North London. So the First Division leaders kick off, playing from left to right, having beaten Wolves here for the last 3 seasons and having done the double over them last season. Walk. Butcher. Good ball. O'Callaghan playing at outside left in the early stages. Although he tends to switch from side to side when he's in the Ipswich team. Osman. Mariner. Mills. Foul by Gallagher on Gates. And the referee, wanting to make the point early, is going to book the Wolves captain Joe Gallagher, who's wearing that protective plaster on his left arm because he broke a wrist recently, but it was Eric Gates who was more in danger of being cut about there. Free kick to Ipswich. Here comes Terry Butcher, and they're in a mess, and Mariner! Oh, it was blocked by Gallagher. Here's Muren. Back in again for Johnny Walk. Mariner attempted the overhead kick there in a crowded goal mouth, and the effort blocked by Gallagher. On by Bell. Here's Walk. Tyson. This is where Wolves have got to try and contain Ipswich. Tyson and Muren, who like to decorate the game in midfield and direct operations from there. Here's Mick Mills. Tyson. Muren. Walk leaving it for O'Callaghan. Beating Hibbett. Beating Palmer. Oh, I say, what a finish! And Kevin O'Callaghan scores his first ever goal for Ipswich Town in the Football League, or indeed in any first-team competitive match. And how about that for a way to open your account for a club? The long cross, John Walk sensibly left it for O'Callaghan behind him. He jigged round Kenny Hibbett. He beat Jeff Palmer, who I think tried to bring him down. And from that angle, he lashed the ball past Bradshaw into the net. A superb individual goal for Ipswich after 9 minutes. O'Callaghan's been with the club since January 1980 when he signed from Millwall. And he's actually Ipswich's most expensive cash purchase would you believe, £250,000. Here's Mills. Villazan tangling with Gates. This is Mariner. Now it's Gates. Oh, and there goes Walk. Well cut out by Hibbett, but the drive coming in. Arnold Muren there had a very good chance to make it 2-0. Kenny Hibbett made a good saving challenge, but when Muren saw the goal there with Bradshaw out of position, he went for the left foot shot and missed. This is Wayne Clark to Mick Matthews. Wolves with 5 players forward in this attack. Matthews to Atkinson. Bell on the far side of the penalty area. That's where it's gone. And Steve McCall just getting a foot in. Wolves have got 3 tall players waiting to come in from the back of the penalty area. Gallagher, Gray and Bell. And that was Osman. That was Tyson. Not really away even now. Bell, Matthews and Walk. McCall. Not as far as Parkin though. Clark. Hibbett. Matthews. Hibbett again. Parkin. Away by Osman from Gray. And return by Wayne Clark. And a very good tip over by Paul Cooper. Lovely spin there by Wayne Clark to turn and hit that in one movement, so tight to the near post. And Cooper got up to flick it over. Back by Atkinson. The best spell Wolves have had so far ends with a free kick to Ipswich. Well, Wayne Clark, one of Alan Clark's younger brothers, has always had good skill in tight situations, and there's always been some dispute about whether he should play in midfield or further forward. Walk. O'Callaghan. There's Gates, and now it's McCall. And this is Mills. Good measured football from Ipswich. This is Arnold Muren. And O'Callaghan again. Good cross, Mariner. Didn't get the full meat of the forehead behind that poor Mariner. It flicked off him rather, away from the goal. Oh, Gray got the other side of Osman there. What a great volleyed ball that was by John Walk out to Mick Mills. It set Ipswich up here with Mariner going down the right. Tyson. Gates. Here's Tyson. And Walks in there again. Mariner, not quite. But Ipswich in this mood takes some stopping. It's McCall to Muren. McCall. Foul by Jeff Palmer. And Butcher and Osman both making their way forward to lend support at the free kick. Played short though to O'Callaghan to shoot. Oh, he nearly got another. Well, there are 1 or 2 people at Portman Road who felt Kevin O'Callaghan was taking a while to settle down here and make a real impression. perhaps not helped by the fact that he tends to come in and out of the side, depending on who else is fit. But I've never seen him start a First Division match quite as confidently as he has today. That's Eric Gates. Walk. This is McCall. O'Callaghan. Oh. Well, this is Wayne Clark. Hibbett. Parkin. And Tyson breaks up the attack, and it's 2 against 2 up there. If Ipswich can move quickly, this is Mariner, and Arnold Muren's made a tremendous run through the inside left channel and has got to beat Villazan, who's beaten himself. And it's Muren wondering whether to pull it back, and in the end, shot into the side netting. When he had 2 players available square, Johnny Walk and Gates were waiting. But it's always difficult to know quite what the angle looks like to the player on the ball at pitch level, and Arnold Muren, with all his experience, clearly thought he was right to go for the shot, and it was the wrong side of the post. Here's Butcher to Mariner. Now Tyson. Now it's Mills, and now it's Mariner again, and Wolves are getting stretched here as Villazan comes across. Mills in low for Gates where he likes it. Good turn, a spinning shot off the defender. I think it must have hit Kenny Hibbett on the turn. But Eric Gates likes nothing better than the ball played in low and tight inside the area so that he can turn his man. He turned onto the shot, and Hibbett's intervening leg took the ball out for a corner to Ipswich, which Gates himself will take as rain comes down. And Andy Gray heads it clear, as far as Tyson anyway. Back again to Gates. Marin let it run. And O'Callaghan has now switched from left to right. Gates putting himself about, Mariner coming in. My word, Gates, Mariner has been penalised in the end for just leaving his mark on Villazan. But Gates actually grappled there with a man almost a foot taller, Gallagher, and just about unsettled him too. Here's Villazan for Wolves. Matthews. Hibbett, little touch. Matthews coming forward with 3 ahead of him, but blocked by Tyson, and this is Walk. It's a bit short for O'Callaghan then, but Muren has won the ball back for Ipswich. Marin has begun his run down the left. He's got Gallagher to beat, who may be hampered by a recent injury. This is Mariner. Muren's well forward again. Tyson is to his left. So is O'Callaghan. One back by Muren. In early to Gates. And Walk is coming in here. And Derek Parkin did just about enough to put John Walk off. But that was typical Ipswich, the way that ball was played in early to Eric Gates, giving him the time to size up his options, shake off the marker, get the cross in, and as Walk came hurtling in, Parkin did also, and forced Walk to put it off target. Here's Gray. Hibbett. And Gray pulling away dangerously at the far post, knocking it back in. Butcher's header. Clark setting it up again, away by Walk, as far as Gates. Again, this method of coming out of defence into attack, which Ipswich employ, seemed to be very measured and very effective. Players finding good positions, notably Tyson here. Mariner. was perhaps waiting for someone to come square. Here's Tyson. Mariner. Made room for the shot, well picked up by Bradshaw. Well, they talk about a snapshot, that's exactly what they mean. Mariner turning and firing in one movement, and the goalkeeper very alert, down to his right. Here comes Villazan. Gray. Clark. He's got Palmer just behind him. He's had to go even further back to Gallagher, and there's the up and under for Andy Gray, taking it away from Osman at first, and that was almost an accidental goal by Kenny Hibbett. What happened there was that John Walk drove his clearance right against Hibbett, and the ball span. It could have been awkward for Cooper had it been a foot lower. Looking for Gray again. That was Clark. That's a good effort. That's a dipping volley from Wayne Clark. Beautifully struck. And I must say, we've seen two players on the field this afternoon who've yet to establish themselves as automatic first division choices. But my word, in patches, what skill they've shown. Wayne Clark of Wolves twice has threatened the Ipswich goal with individual efforts. And for Ipswich, there's been the performance of Kevin O'Callaghan. And Ipswich have got reason to be thankful to their goalkeeper, Paul Cooper, who saved them, and to Arnold Muren, who kept their attack moving so well. So worrying times these for John Barnwell on the left and his recently appointed first-team coach, Ian Ross, who succeeded Richie Barker in that job at the beginning of the season. Rain still coming down as Wolves start the second half. This is Muren for Ipswich to O'Callaghan. Mariner challenging Gallagher. Waiting for the bounce, but only finding Palmer there. Mariner got his first goal of the season at Southampton last week, but still awaits his first home goal. Here's Butcher. Parkin. Oh, and Bell gets in there, and Cooper put into a tangle initially by Butcher. And Norman Bell might have profited from that. The arguments are still going on back in the defence. The rain comes down even more heavily. Here's Clark for Wolves. Palmer. Hibbett. And again. And up goes Gray, a good save by Cooper. Ipswich a little lacking in concentration again, perhaps, although Gray is so hard to contain in the penalty area, you've got to say that, first and foremost. Got his header in, and Cooper, a smart save. Well, John Barnwell on the Wolves bench must be thinking his side could easily have been level by now. And Ipswich have got reason to be grateful to Paul Cooper for two very good saves, one from Clark in the first half and one from Gray in the second. Muren. Mariner. Mills now, who'll be wanting to see Ipswich move up a gear after a fairly indifferent period in the second half. But he won't get the attack moving like that. Here's Palmer. Muren defending, and McCall, and O'Callaghan. And Gates waiting to break, and he can now. Actually, to be fair to the goalkeeper, I think he had that covered. Eric Gates picking the ball up from Steve McCall, attacking the defender, making room for his shot, but I honestly think Bradshaw had his post covered as the ball went just wide. Walk. Butcher. O'Callaghan. Muren's found Mills. And here's Tyson, who hasn't been in the match a lot since half-time. Mills has gone inside now. That's Mills' shot. Oh! Somebody ran directly in the goalkeeper's line of vision there. John Walk, I fancy, as the ball sped through from Mick Mills. Well, the crowd have just heard that Switzerland have beaten Romania and opened up the World Cup path again for England. I wonder if the Ipswich manager has had time to take that in. Wayne Clark looking for Andy Gray, coming in again behind Osman. And the throw out from Cooper was superb. It found Muren in yards of space. And with 20 minutes to go, he's found O'Callaghan. First time ball in, away by Palmer for a corner. Taken quickly. Gates this is. O'Callaghan. It's going to come to Tyson. Tyson working hard to regain possession, but then giving it away. And here's Hibbett as Ipswich retreat, and he's got two players in support, Bell to the right and Clark to the left. Bell's gone inside now, Hibbett shot. Wouldn't have mattered because Bell had straight into an offside position. O'Callaghan, whose goal still separates the two teams. Muren. Oh, Ipswich are getting lackadaisical now. Here's Gray. That's a good effort from Andy Gray. But again, I wonder if the goalkeeper will look back and say he had the post covered. Certainly Paul Cooper has a smile on his face. The ball wasn't very far wide from Gray's left foot shot, but Cooper was over there by the post. So still 1-0 to Ipswich. Muren to O'Callaghan. And bear in mind that if Wolves were to score and force a draw, it would mean the loss not just of 1 point for Ipswich, but 2 under the new system, which is why their lack of grip in the second half at certain times won't have pleased the manager. Here's Atkinson. Clark. He's got by McCall, even though he went down, and there's Matthews! Well, Wolves can't say they've not had the openings. There have been at least 3 occasions, maybe more, when they could have scored, and at that moment, Mick Matthews plays his last part in the game, because that was his final kick. He's off, and he's substituted by Colin Brazier, who comes on for his first league appearance of the season.
Come here, Clarkie! Come here, Wayne! Come here, Wayne!
Tyson. Here's Steve McCall. Oh, Eric Parkin saw that coming a mile off. And he's found Kenny Hibbett. Offside against Bell. by Mariner, away by Villazan, as far as Tyson. Now Walk. Mills. Gates. Mariner. Walk just got a touch on that. Here's O'Callaghan. Square to Muren. O'Callaghan again. Muren in for Walk. And Walk again. And Tyson off the defender Gallagher. Muren. Mills. Away by Palmer this time. O'Callaghan to Muren. And Mariner comes in at the back post. John Walk. Corner off Palmer. Mariner got it back from a very difficult position, and Walk couldn't finish it off. Corner to Ipswich. For the third consecutive home match, Ipswich take 3 points by virtue of an odd goal victory. The goal today scored by O'Callaghan, but a fitful Ipswich performance if one is thinking in championship terms. Not at their best by any means in the second half, when Wolves created enough openings to have actually stolen something or achieved something out of the match, as they go off with the final score here at Portman Road. Ipswich Town 1, Wolverhampton Wanderers 0.
Well, those 3 points keep Ipswich on top of the table and increase the misery of Wolves. They showed plenty of spirit in the second half particularly, but manager John Barnwell seems to be having some difficulty in establishing and carrying out a policy which is acceptable to everyone at the club. He's talking to John Motson.
You brought us up to date in Football Focus at lunchtime with the Andy Gray saga. Where do things stand now? He's clearly still giving his all for you, but
Yes.
is it likely that he's going to go to Leeds?
As far as I'm concerned, no. And I will reiterate again, if a club, whether it's Leeds or whoever, wish to make a bid for any of my players, whether it's Andy Gray or whoever, that's quite within their right. And football economics being the way they are, I will consider it. And if after considering it, I think it's right for the club, then I'll take it to the next step. But until I get something in front of me, then I can't consider it. So the Leeds thing, as far as I'm concerned, is not on.
But are you still seeing things a different way to your chairman?
Well, until I speak to the chairman again, I don't know. I don't really know. I see things that I'm trying to build a side, not tear it apart. And the last thing you ever do is get rid of your best players. If that's to be the case, then I'll have to consider that with the chairman and with the board of directors. And really, there's not much more I can say at this period of time. I think it's very unsettling for the players. And you've seen them perform today. There's only one thing they're concerned about, is Wolverhampton Wanderers Football Club. They would die for it, the majority, and quite rightly so. And I think we have to be seen as a group of people to all pull in the same direction. I think that's the only important thing at this moment in time.
Well, John Barnwell illustrating the difficulty both directors and managers are having in these most difficult times to establish the best financial policy for their clubs. And there certainly seems enough enthusiasm in the club from all quarters to make things happen. Let's hope they harness it quickly. Now for our first visit to the third division this season, and it's to Ashton Gate, home of Bristol City. Like their opponents Preston, City were relegated from Division 2 last season, and the supporters of both clubs would want nothing less than a quick return to the higher grade. Your commentator, Alan Parry.
Ashton Gate is a First Division stadium that only 17 months ago was hosting First Division football. But relegation in successive seasons and a poor start to this season means that City are now closer to Division 4. The loss of players like Jerry Gow and Tom Ritchie has led to a reshaped side, but this lineup still contains 6 players with experience of First Division football. They include Scotsman Jerry Sweeney, one of City's longest-serving players, today making his 400th league appearance for them. And what a contrast to this quartet, all of whom are making their league debuts for Preston, having been signed in the last 7 days. From left to right, John Kelly from Tranmere Rovers, Tommy Booth and Gary Buckley from Manchester City, and Barry Dunn from Sunderland. So, in typical Tommy Docherty style, a Preston team with plenty of new names and a very positive 4-2-4 formation. The referee, Mr. Les Chapter from Torquay, and it's Preston in the white shirts who kick off. They'll be attacking from right to left. With only 6 points out of the last 24, it's essential that this new-look team blends together very quickly. That's not a particularly promising start. Paul Stevens, promising new young right-back, with the throw for Bristol City. McIntyre conceding another. Tommy Docherty just above the gangway there in the stand in his 20th year as a manager, and back where his career as a player started with Preston North End. To lay off, finding Aitken. And again, Whitehead revelling in that space down the City left. But what a good tackle by Coleman, the Preston captain. Whitehead persistent. Mabbott. Whitehead again. Played forward and a good ball which Jimmy Mann is on the end of. The goalkeeper's committed himself and is in danger here. But luckily for Preston, Anderson was on hand to clear. Harford wins it back. Brighter stuff now from Bristol City. Well, the shot at the end, disappointing. But a good build-up with Whitehead prominent then for Bristol City. The goalkeeper committing himself, and when the cross came in from the left, Anderson was on hand to clear. Musker has the skill to beat Anderson well. And Aitken. Hay, a measured build-up this from Bristol City. Whitehead again in space. And look at that pace. A fine cross too. And really, that proved how Whitehead can be so effective, going down the left-hand side. A good cross to the far post, aimed at Harford. And as well for Preston, that Tommy Booth was the man on the end of it. Close to the goalkeeper. Very nearly bounced over Musker's head then. He got it at the second attempt. McIntyre for Preston. The bounce playing it straight into the path of Bruce. But a fine tackle by Stevens. A little unlucky with the clearance. Here's Aitken. And Whitehead coming deep to receive it. Hay on his outside if he needs him, and he does. Whitehead again. Mabbott. Across to cover is O'Riordan. That was aimed at Harford. And a good cross too. Oh, and then Litchfield did so well. The ball pulled back beautifully by Kevin Mabbott, and when the shot came in, Litchfield seemed to be going the wrong way, but changed his flight, and that was a very good save. And here's Kelly. Well, Tommy Docherty says he's got as much pace as another former Tranmere winger, Steve Coppell. Well, he had pace then, but perhaps his technique let him down. Bristol City just can't get the ball away. Buckley. Rodgers with an old-fashioned clearance, but straight to O'Riordan. Here's Dunn. Bruce. Two men for Preston inside the penalty area. Bruce goes it alone, though. Oh, and it nearly kept under Muller's body. Good skill that by Alex Bruce. Took on the defenders, the shot into that muddy patch just in front of the Bristol City goalkeeper, and it looked as though the ball might get through, but he dived on it and made a good save. Again, a bouncing ball off this wet pitch, posing problem for the Preston defenders, but Clark covering well. And here's Kelly, and Hay wins the throw off him. And O'Riordan was just using his elbow then to hold off Mabbott. Bristol City's free kick. And Rodgers has come forward, but it's gone left for Whitehead. He really has got some pace, and a good ball too, and a fine effort coming in from Kevin Abbott. Well, the best attack of the game, no doubt. The free kick played out to Whitehead on the left, good speed, the cross flat along the ground. Mabbott poked at it first time, and over the bar it went. Bobby Houghton with the spectacles, and Roy Hodgson, his assistant manager, inherited a lot of problems when they came to Bristol City, and they're finding it a difficult job to clear them. And missing it completely. And the referee's whistle brings to an end what was frankly a disappointing first half. Bristol City 0, Preston North End 0, and one of the few players who enlivened the proceedings was this man, Clive Whitehead, recently brought back into the side to give them width. His pace, ability to beat men, and ability to cross the ball well was a constant threat, and City will be hoping he can improve on that in the second half. So Bristol City to get this second half in motion. Both they and Preston relegated last season, and both seemingly having problems readjusting to third division football. But a good start. It nearly broke for Harford. McAteer with the clearance. Both sides, in fact, are currently in the bottom four in the third division table. If they don't get more men forward than they did in the first half, they might well stay there for a while too. Here's Mabbott. Trying hard to win the corner, and does so. So again, David Rodgers, 6'2" and 15 stone, a frightening looking build, comes forward for this City corner. Taken by Whitehead. Too close to the keeper perhaps. Oh, and the keeper made a terrible mistake, and Coleman was on hand to whack the ball clear, but in fact the linesman's flag was raised instantly, so a foul on Peter Litchfield, or even handball. This is Bruce. And now Clark, former Manchester United player. Little seen of him in the first half. And a good layoff then by Buckley, showing some nice touches, I must say, in this game. Here's McAteer. Buckley again, intelligent positioning. Helped out by Bruce, but Stevens back for Bristol City. Buckley certainly not allowing the City defenders to dwell on the ball. And Stevens' clearance going off done, Bristol City's throw. Abbott holding off McAteer. Here's Musker, now Aitken. Did well under pressure, Whitehead. Surely the main source of problems to Preston if City can only get a better service to him. And here's Jimmy Mann, this looks promising. Oh, a fine effort. And Mann making room for himself well then. Whitehead again, the instigator of that good move by Bristol City. Mann making room for the shot, which was only just over the Preston bar. And that free kick for Bristol City will enable Preston to make a change. John Anderson, who was doubtful before the match with an injury and who collected another one in the first half, obviously feeling the effects of that knock, he'll come off. And Mike Farrelly, 19 years old, who was in the team until the 4 recent signings, takes his place. Well, the empty spaces telling the story, and the gate only 5,389, the lowest league crowd of the season. A long, long way Bristol City have come from the days in the 1930s when Preston, today's visitors, set a record attendance for Ashton Gate of over 43,000. Harford, nice control, finds Mabbott. Here's Musker, Stevens wide on the right. He couldn't make the cross. Harford had come across to provide the man for him, and that's good control. Now Whitehead, and the ball just spinning away at the vital moment. Kelly for Preston. Sweeney across to cover. Here's Tommy Booth. Mabbott really arriving to make life difficult for Booth, but that's an excellent clearance, and it's put Buckley in the clear. And what a good effort! Well, that was intelligent thinking by Buckley. A great ball from the back by Tommy Booth over the heads of the defenders. Buckley quickly onto it. He spotted Muller slightly off his line, hit the ball on the half volley, and it was only just wide. 20 minutes to go then in this game, which has seen neither goalkeeper in any serious danger, except perhaps from their own defenders, as Coleman almost emphasised then. Sweeney beaten by the bounce, but not Rogers. Here's Kelly. Oh, that's not a bad effort either from Kelly. Well, the first flash of the kind of skill that Tommy Docherty brought this young man from Tranmere Rovers for. A good left-footed shot, only just over the crossbar. So as we move into the final quarter of an hour, one wonders whether either side will take more risks with the incentive of 3 points for a win. Bonus very much on the home side, of course. Bristol City, they lost their last home game to Walsall last Saturday, and they've taken only 1 point from the last 9 at stake. Firmly in the bottom 4 and really needing a win to inspire their dwindling crowds. Here's McAteer, and it seems that Preston anyway are content with 1 point. The crowd reacting with the slower hand clap. Aimed, I'm sure, of Preston, but they can't be terribly happy with their own side's performance either. Now done for Preston. Well, he's kept his feet well, and the referee waves play on. Here's Bruce. Kelly, unmarked on the edge of the box. Oh, good skill by Alex Bruce. Kelly is still in the centre. Has done crosses. It comes to Kelly, and he really could have marked his debut then with a goal. Well, you have to feel sorry for John Kelly. It was a fine cross from the left by Dunn. Kelly was unmarked, the goal at his mercy, but the new player turned it over the crossbar, and that could be Preston's final hope of a win. Mabbott. Driven in, but McAteer clears. Here's Musker. Fullback Stevens wanting it inside the box. Oh, and it nearly reached him too. What a good header away that was by Booth. Bruce to Clark. It's a fine ball too. McAteer just helping it on for Bruce. Buckley in the middle and Kelly arriving quickly too. Oh, good skill by Alex Bruce. Oh, and he's still going. What a run that was. Oh, and there's nearly an own goal in the end. And Muller somehow will get the ball, surely. No, done. What an incredible incident that was. Well, it was a magnificent run by Alex Bruce. He beat 3 players, slid the ball into that ruck in the middle. Muller seemed to have it and then lost it again. It finally broke to Barry Dunn, who from just a few yards out couldn't get the ball on target. And Bristol City very lucky to get away with that. Here's Harford again. Whitehead. Now then, 3 men in the middle here, but the cross came off O'Riordan, and Litchfield couldn't prevent it going behind for a corner, although he feels he did. And the referee has glanced at his watch because we're now into time added on for stoppages. Could there be late drama? No, there won't, because the final whistle has blown, and the boos and otherwise silence from this small crowd really, I think, underlining better than any words from me what's been a disappointing match. The chances, most of them fell to Preston North End, and 2 of their new players, John Kelly and Barry Dunn, missed the best 2 of all. Bristol City have got problems, Preston have 2, but at least their new players might gel together and make the future a little brighter. The final score, Bristol City 0, Preston North End 0.
What a pity when we do see a 3rd division match and it turns out not only to be goalless, but I have to say it, rather drab. And I can understand supporters not finding what was offered exciting enough, although Tommy Docherty must have been reasonably contented with a point from his newly created team. His directors allowed him to buy a few relatively cheap players, but as Bobby Houghton explains, funds are so short at Ashton Gate, they have to find another route back to the top.
It was your lowest league crowd of the season. Bearing in mind Bristol City's financial problems, how much longer can you go on surviving with those kind of attendances?
Well, you survive if the attendances are so low that they don't match your expenditure. The income doesn't match your expenditure. You survive by selling players. Now, you know, what we really need is to have some sort of form between now and Christmas, so that you know, we can get enough people in to prevent that happening. I mean, that's what happened throughout last year. We had hoped to get a better start than this, and therefore have avoided that situation. But I mean, if the crowds continue to be, if we continue not to win at home and the crowds therefore don't come, then you know, that's the continuing spiral that you're on, really.
Do you feel you're doing enough to entertain those crowds when they do come along? Did you feel that you had enough players up front today, for instance?
Yes, I mean, our goal scoring record is not bad. It's only the last 2 home games where we failed to score. Before that, I think we were probably the top goal scorers in this division. I think we scored 12 in the first 6 or 7 games. You know, people will always say that. I mean, we played with 2 players, 2 central attackers. We played with a winger, and we play with a supporting midfield player. Now, you know, you've got to be a brave man to play with more players committed to attack than that.
You've been in the job for just about a year now. You obviously inherited a lot of problems when you came here, but it was relegation in your first season. You're down at the bottom of the 3rd division table now. Do you feel personally under any pressure at the moment?
Well, I mean, I think you always feel under pressure to get results. I mean, you mean, do I feel under pressure about losing my job? And in that respect, I don't really, because I don't think that the possibilities at the moment for anybody else to come in and change the situation are that great. It's a longer job than a year. It takes some patience. We're not going to be able to go out and buy players, and we're probably going to have to sell some. So really the answer is to produce your own. And you don't do that at a drop of a hat. It's a long process of finding them and then making sure the coaches that work with them are good and that you give them a chance at the right time. Now, you know, that is the solution. Now, you know, if people lose patience and decide that they want to cut corners, then I can do nothing about that. But that's the situation. You know, if the people don't want to face that fact, then they obviously make decisions other than the ones I'm suggesting should be made. But it seems to me that you know, there aren't too many other ways to do it. If you can't go out and buy your players, you've got to produce them.
Well, there's only one real story tonight of how Switzerland dramatically beat Romania in Bucharest, and by doing so gave England the World Cup reprieve. England were hoping the Swiss would do them a favour by getting at least a draw, and that's exactly how things stood after a goalless first half. Romania in the light shirts took the lead 12 minutes into the second half after Swiss keeper Bergner carried the ball outside the penalty area. The Italian referee awarded a direct free kick, the result of which, as you'll see, sent the 80,000 crowd in Bucharest wild with delight. There's not too much wrong with the Swiss wall or the keeper's position, but neither was good enough to stop a whipped shot from Balac hitting the back stanchion. It was a quite perfect strike from the Romanian, and one well worth seeing again from behind the goal, where even in slow motion you can get a good idea of the pace of the shot. A few minutes later, Romania had a great chance to wrap the game up when Talnar began and finished a clever move, but happily for Switzerland and England, the number 9 drove his shot straight at Bergner. Perhaps that's doing the Swiss keeper a bit of a disservice, especially as he stands up so well to deserve his piece of good fortune. Switzerland's equaliser in the 68th minute also came from a brilliantly executed free kick, but watch for Zappa's left foot shot, which hits the post and then the Romanian keeper before flying into the net. So 1-1, and watching the replay you'll see that after beating Christian's dive, Zappa's shot actually comes off the post and hits the keeper on the back of the head to be deflected into goal. A bit of luck there perhaps, but that certainly wasn't the case with Switzerland's winner 13 minutes from the end. A fine ball from the middle of the field found Luti wide on the right, and from that moment the Swiss substitute decided to go it alone, cutting in and waltzing around the keeper before scoring a magnificent goal. So 2-1 to Switzerland, and let's see that goal again, because it's the one that could very well put England in the 1982 World Cup finals. Victory over Hungary at Wembley next month would be enough to take Ron Greenwood's team to Spain. Well, Greenwood himself said on grandstand this afternoon, it's the best possible result for us. We've got a reprieve. If we don't do it against Hungary at Wembley, then we deserve to have our backsides kicked. Well, Greenwood is right, of course, for unless Romania pull off a miracle win by 6 goals at least in Switzerland next month, then all England have to do is beat Hungary. The bookies have no doubts. After today's result, they cut England's odds against qualifying from 4-1 to 11-8 on. And while the way to Spain was opening up for England, Poland became the 3rd European country to qualify, along with host nations Spain and Belgium. Poland won 3-2 in East Germany to stay 100% after 3 games in Group 7. Still on the World Cup, and injuries to Joe Jordan of AC Milan and Celtic's Davy Provan have cut the Scottish squad down to 17 for the match against Northern Ireland in Belfast on Wednesday. Davy Cooper of Rangers, Provan's replacement, is also out after being injured against Aberdeen this afternoon. Problems too for Wales. Everton's Mickey Thomas has a groin injury which could put him out of the Welsh team against Iceland. A decision will be made tomorrow. On the domestic front, a former World Cup star, Alan Ball of Southampton, was in trouble today. Along with Birmingham's Mark Dennis, Ball was sent off for an off-the-ball incident just before the end of Southampton's 4-0 defeat at St Andrews. It's the 6th time Ball has been sent off in his long career. Frank Worthington and his old Bolton teammate Neil Watmore shared the goals for Birmingham. Trevor Christie, who got his marching orders in a League Cup tie in midweek, also scored twice as Notts County beat Sunderland 2-0. And Welsh international Ian Rush added 2 more goals to the pair he scored in midweek as Liverpool beat bottom-of-the-table Leeds 3-0. But at the top, it's still Ipswich by a point after that win over Wolves. Swansea maintained their 100% home record with a 2-0 victory over Arsenal to move into 2nd place, a point ahead of Spurs, 2-0 winners over Stoke. Garth Crooks, back after a cartilage operation, got one of the goals. West Ham slipped from 2nd to 4th after a home draw with Everton, and Manchester United dropped 1 place following the goalless derby draw with Manchester City at Main Road. That game was watched by a crowd of 52,037, the biggest in the league this season. In Division 2, there's no real change at the top, with Luton drawing at Oldham and Watford and Sheffield Wednesday both winning at home. Those clubs now have a 3-point lead over Oldham and Chelsea. Finally, pools, and with 13 score draws on the coupon, dividends will be low. No claims are needed, and the numbers 2, 6, 11, 18, 21, 24, 34, 37, 38, 42, 43, 51 and 52.
Well, I have to confess that the football wasn't sparkling tonight, but Switzerland's win is some compensation. We can look forward now with eager anticipation to England's match against Hungary at Wembley on November the 18th, and I'm delighted to say you can see that crucial game exclusively on BBC television. And this time we're obviously taking it seriously because the England players will be given a rest on the Saturday before. We'll be on the air again on that and every Saturday throughout the season. For Match of the Day, it's business as usual, and tonight, even if there was only 1 goal, it was rather a special one. Good night.
Warp leaving it for O'Callaghan. Beating Hibbett. Beating Palmer. Oh, I say, what a finish!